said before, Shiches lo bonav mumam, it's your blemish. So Rashi said, the corruption that they corrupted, that is the blemish. Now, when a person sins, what is the consequence of sin? If a person, the Gemara says in Be'ah that if you give a gift to a child, you give food to a child to eat, you should smear some of the food on his face. Why? So when the parent sees the parent knows the child ate something. So the parents, who gave you that to eat? So the child will say, so-and-so. And that will increase the love among Jews. Because the person doesn't know who his benefactor was. So he doesn't know who to feel positive to. But understanding that somebody did something for your child, and the child, but how do you know? Because if the person puts some of the food on his face, the parent will know, the parent will ask the child. So therefore, when you sin, if you put your hand in the till, they have today, the person holds at the bank, the bundle of money explodes, and dye goes all over the person. So as much, even if you should throw it away, they're going to catch him. Because this dye, this indelible dye goes all over his clothing, all over his hands. You're caught. Therefore, you can't escape it afterwards. They can identify who you are. When you sin, there's an impurity which goes on the person. You can't deny you didn't sin. And each sin has its specific profile of impurity. Therefore, it's lo bon of mumam. It's your blemish. The blemish, you can't deny it. Normally, a person is clean and whatever it is. You go into the filth, you come out, you don't smell like a rose. It's lo bon of mumam. You're not doing anything to him. It's your own what? You're harming yourself. Because every sin has a consequence to it. And the level of sin, that determines the degree of consequence. The Ramchal and the Ramak write that even if a person is a tzaddik, 99.99%, if he has any degree of impurity, he has to go to Gehenna. Has to go to Gehenna. But you're nearly perfect. Why? So he explains, the person didn't do tshuva, so therefore, he says if a person has the most beautiful garment, best quality material, and he has on the lapel, he has some uncleanliness, could you stand before the king? But the garment's, it's 99.9% perfectly clean. You can't get whiter than that, but you have that blotch of uncleanliness on the lapel. You can't stand. So as pure as you are, if you have that impurity, it has to be purged. So therefore, even the greatest tzaddik, if he didn't do tshuva, he didn't make that correction here, he has to go to Gehenna. Because how do you stand before the king with that impurity? Because every sin, that's the mumam, that is the blemish, that's the damage. Schari mosolam. He said to them, you're novel. Why you novel? Why you despicable and vile? Because you don't remember all that Hashem had done for you. So how do you remember? So we have to make an effort to remember the past. And if you remember the past, you remember many things. Firstly, you remember what he did in the positive, and also you remember that he could punish you, right? That he's not going to tolerate it. Because the many generations that existed, and he destroyed them. Whether it was the generation of the great flood, the Dor HaMabul, or was the Dor HaFloga, the generation of dispersion. You don't behave to a certain point, his patience only holds out to a point. Beyond that, he destroys you. As a result of that, Zechori Mosolam, remember the days of the past. Binu Shnos Dor V'Dor, you should perceive the years of generation after generation. But you can do tshuva. But you can do tshuva. If your person has a proper tshuva, you don't go to Gehenna. And if certain things you have to suffer in this world, you have to suffer. So everybody has some degree of suffering, and if you use that suffering properly, put it in a certain context, then it's an atonement. Then you had your Gehenna in this world. You don't have to have it in the world to come. But if a person suffers and he goes and he revolts against God and he bolts, so that's just the opposite. Rather than utilize it as something very positive, he used it as to be something destructive to himself. To be continued. Okay. I don't know.